All right, here we have the Myrtle Topiary. This is, of course, a very small version. Myrtles grow several feet tall naturally, but this one has been dwarfed for our own indoor reasons because they're so cute. Look at them. Just looks like a little miniature tree. My favorite part is probably how when it drops leaves, it just looks like the tree ring outside in front of my house. It's very, it's that classic sort of tree form, you know, the one that you draw as like a kid and it's got the little doo-doo-doo-doo. But anyway, let's get into the care instructions for this character. First of all, you're gonna need a lot of light for these ones. If you want to, during the spring and the summer months, when it's above 50 degrees, if you want to keep these outdoors, that would be fantastic, as long as you can keep up with the watering. You will maximize growth by giving it all that extra light, but watering is very important. So only put it outdoors if you can keep up with the watering, because they don't stand being dried out for very long at all, okay? Especially when they're in a small pot like this. So if you're gonna keep it outdoors, keep that in mind. If you're gonna keep it indoors, give it your brightest window. A south window is gonna be your best bet with a really wide view of the sky, but an east window or a west window will also suffice. North would not be good enough light year round. Next, let's talk about watering. So because we're keeping this in small form, there are a lot of roots in the pot, okay? So in this pot, it's basically more roots than it is soil, which means the soil will dry out pretty quick, okay? So we wanna make sure that whenever we come by, we touch the soil, and if the topsoil is about to dry out, we give it a really good thorough soaking. Every once in a while, I'll let my topsoil, you know, I realize that it is actually dry, and I give it a really good thorough soaking, and it's just fine that way as well. So we want to keep up with our watering, because once it dries out too far, there's no coming back from it. Okay, so we want to make sure we maintain that. They're also pretty heavy feeders during the spring and the summer months. You can just give them a granule fertilizer or liquid soluble fertilizer, 10-10-10. 15, 15, 15, 20, 20, 20, something general purpose and well balanced will do the trick. But they do feed pretty heavily during the spring and summer months, and especially because, again, there's not a whole lot of soil in the pot, which means there's not a whole lot of nutrients in the pot. So we want to be making sure that we replenish those nutrients in the soil by giving fertilizing during the spring and the summer months. One of the obvious things with topiaries is shaping, right? You can see this little character has kind of gotten out of line. And so how do you shape it? It can be shaped pretty often and regularly during the growing season, right? So if you want to come in and trim up any of this stuff that's out of shape or out of character, that's perfectly fine. Just come in there with a really nice sharp pair of pruners. You can go by it, don't worry. No, it was behind me. You can come in with a sharp pair of pruners and just clip them and shape it. You just don't want to be too drastic with it. The general consensus is that you don't want to cut more than a quarter of the tree, okay? Because taking off too much material at once can result in a rapid decline in the plant, because there's so much for it to heal as far as wounds. You know, whenever you cut something, it has to send energy to that cut to heal it. And then you're losing a bunch of your solar panels, right? So you want to keep that in mind as well. So you can trim frequent, you know, when little hairs get out of whack like this, but don't go whacking off a whole bunch of branches at once, okay? If you're going to repot, you can do so early spring is gonna be your best bet, or really late winter. And you can use, I use 3 parts of houseplant mix, so it retains quite a bit of moisture, and 1 part something's gonna drain really sharp, something like pumice stone or cactus soil or sand, something like that would do really well for these guys. What's next? And you would just go up 1 pot. If you want to maintain this size, all you have to do is trim the roots, okay? So eventually there are going to be roots that are coming out of the pot. You'll take the plant out of the pot and just cut a little bit of those roots. Again, you don't want to trim too much of them, just enough for it to sort of fit back into the pot, no more than 25% of the root system. But that should do it for the care instructions for the Myrtle Topiary. If you have any questions, these blooms are pretty fragrant, actually. Look at those. I was just had it in my face. They're pretty fragrant. But anyway, if you have any questions about this tree, let me know in the comment section below. Or of course, you can always message me right here on Tanner the Planner.